Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi, thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here. My name is Michaela Foulkes. I'm based in Pawtucket, Rhode Island in the US. And my story is really around my passion, I will say, is around helping women primarily with weight loss. So I have been a student and a practitioner of the body for over 2 decades. My beginnings were with massage therapy. That branched off. Everything has just been either what I've struggled with or what I have been most interested in. So kettlebells have been a fascination for me. So understanding how to be more powerful in any move, how to not get hurt when you are using your body. What do I want to say? And then basically my own struggles with emotional eating are what got me better versed with a variety of diets, and then ultimately with the mode of fat burning. So I'm from a family of big eaters. No one was ever hungry. No one was ever heavy. We were hungry. Most people were, very active, athletic. My brother and I were both competitive swimmers. And so food was something that was always kind of celebrated. No shame involved with needing to eat a lot, eating a lot. But when I was in my 20s, basically this outlet of food kind of switched from being something that was a bit more celebrated to something that I was starting to use to manage my own stress, really. And I'm going to say sadness is really the truth. And so basically, in my own efforts to kind of deal with my own emotional well-being, but really just to deal with the emotional eating, I tried every diet under the sun, every type of workout. And there was a point where I was made aware of the fact that there was an option. One could burn sugar or one could burn fat. And so with that, I thought I would prefer to be burning fat. Thank you very much. And so essentially I started learning about that. I got myself into a fat burning mode. And then just kind of recognize that the nature of fat burning, which is forgiving, as well as the nature of doing carb cycling, kind of corresponded with my emotional eating binges and enabled me to both not gain weight and then even lose weight. So anyway, I've been on my own personal journey of healing, becoming more congruent, which is really consequential to our emotional well-being. But with that, I've kind of, so I've been working with people in this capacity over 13 years, probably almost 14 now. But what's amazing about it is that we're all born to burn fat. We're all made to store fat in times of surplus, and we're all made to tap into it in times of scarcity. And so what's awesome about it is that basically it feels comfortable. It's natural. It is something that makes it easier to lose weight and harder to gain it. It helps with health, the mode of fat burning, and what your body's able to do in terms of going for longer periods without food, just even in a day, more hours without eating comfortably, is something that helps slow aging. It helps improve digestion. But the thing that I also love about it is that it kind of offers up this loophole living. I would say one of my core values is freedom. And I love that this just gives an individual more flexibility. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to do everything correct all the time, or even to be 100% consistent all of the time. I love that fat burning, like, we are wired for feast and famine. And that's kind of how life is. That's how holidays operate. That's how celebrations are. We tend to be pretty food centric when we do celebrate, when we do socialize. And so the thing that's really awesome about that is that, once again, you don't have to kind of like, seal your mouth closed for the next however many months that it might require for you to lose the certain amount of weight that you desire. It factors in the fact that these times, this day, this moment of feast or excess is part of just how we are designed. And so I say to my fat burners repeatedly, like, this is about like how to have your cake and eat it too. And what's really cool about that also is that weight loss is a formula. Weight loss, beyond calories in and calories out, hormones are very consequential. But with that, strategy and knowledge is really useful in this effort. So once again, you don't need to be strict. You need to be conscious and situated, I will say. Again, I feel like I say a lot of the same things repeatedly because I think it's really useful for the people that I work with to kind of have a solid understanding as to how we work, which is so different compared to how most of the world assumes we work, which is like, I should never eat cookies if I want to lose weight. That's not true. And it also means that I can only have small amounts of food if I want to lose weight. That is not true. And so when we have an appreciation for strategy, then once again, it's like we just have so much freedom. It's completely empowering to understand that choice A over B does X, Y, and Z. And that sometimes that choice is just as easy. But if you are aware of which choice is going to give you the result that you actually want, you just get to keep having more of it while feeling not deprived, while not going hungry, and then being able to like color outside of the lines with regularity, which I think really floors people the most, which is, again, kind of exciting as well. But anyway, so that is my passion, I will say. And what I think is also really awesome is my desire always has been to educate people to understand more about how their bodies work so that they can have more of what they want. It breaks my heart when people kind of, like throw themselves off a cliff of, resignation in terms of this has to do with age, or my age, or, this is just how it is. Like, health is hard. This is elusive. Because I'm in whatever decade, this is an inevitability, and that is just not true. And so the more we know about how our bodies actually work, the easier it is to have exactly what we want. And so obviously there's an expiration date at some point. Things do change, but we just have a lot of say in the meantime, which is really exciting. Great.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming online and sharing your knowledge, your wisdom with us today. You know, you're talking about a subject that affects so many women. A lot of us are all struggling with trying to lose those few extra kilos. And especially when you hit menopause, I'm finding that I have fat in places I never had before. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so difficult to get rid of it. And, you know, when I was looking at your bio, I realized that you took a lot of time to research the best ways to help women. But what motivated you to focus on helping women over 40 specifically? And what unique challenges do they face than the younger women right now?
I chose over 40 because our bodies simply become a bit more complicated.
Yeah.
So with that, things change with our hormonal changes. Over 40, some people even say like 35. But when we hit that mark, um, our hormones change. And with it, we tend to have more weight gain around our midsection. We tend to have a harder time losing weight. And so, what ends up happening for a lot of women is because the same tactic didn't work or doesn't work as well as it did in the past, they either double down on what they were doing before, they just try harder, they become more restrictive, or they kind of throw their hands up in the air and feel like, once again, this is kind of a bit of a, I don't want to say like a death sentence, but this is this is the truth. These are the facts, and I just have to kind of like bemoan, a weight that I don't really want to be at, but I can't do anything about it.
Yes.
So anyway, so it's why women, because men are easy regarding weight loss, women are harder, and then why over 40, because the game changes. And so once again, when I was younger, I know that it was like, let me just think about losing weight, and that's how
That's
what's going to happen. And that's not the case at 47. And so I recognize that um, we operate differently. We have less grace, is really the truth. We have less wiggle room with
yeah.
certain things. But in many respects, I'll just say that, like for alcohol, for example, alcohol is so much harder for women to metabolize than men, but it becomes harder for us. It kind of makes a bigger impact for longer as women. And so we could still drink alcohol if we want to, but most women 40 and over recognize how disruptive it is for their sleep, how they, even if they have, a glass or two of wine, it can really make an impact the next day. And so, in some respects, um, it becomes more compelling to do some things that are actually better for us.
Yeah.
So, that's not awesome, maybe just in terms of 100% freedom, but having less alcohol is something that does make more of a negative impact. And so it's more persuasive to turn away from.
So you have a diverse background from massage therapy to the kettlebell instruction and intermittent fasting. How do each of these skills shape your approach to helping your clients?
That's a great question. So I will say, so I used to own a massage practice and I closed that during COVID. So in many respects, that was actually a really good entry point for people because one gets so much information when you physically touch a person's tissue. So it communicates a lot of things. And so, in general, having more weight on your frame or wishing to be more fit, these aren't things that necessarily are only reflected in how a body feels or looks, but that initial assessment was really useful in many respects to kind of get a better sense of someone's state, their even mental state, um,
Yes.
as well as their physical state. Uh, but at any rate, I would say most people who want to lose weight will think about exercise first. And so now I almost think of fat burning as being the entry point, because it's such a big umbrella in terms of how much of the body it impacts.
Yeah.
And essentially, it's most people reach for it because of weight loss, but it's kind of like one-stop shopping for health. And then there's there's a focus, or certainly an incorporation, in terms of, you know, people's emotional well-being, how they handle stress,
Right.
you know, and even things in terms of like, you know, their own boundaries, whether that's, you know, honoring, keeping a commitment to themselves, not buckling under someone else's, you know, insistence or desire.
Yes.
So anyway, so I would say those two camps were probably where I would go initially, but fat burning is kind of like one-stop shopping, and then people kind of focus in terms of what they need or want more, whether that's strength training, or I guess I would say body work, or help with pain management.
Your program, the Fat Burning Pro, promises transformative weight loss while allowing your clients to have their cake and eat it, right? Can you explain what this philosophy means to you? How
Sure.
do you do it? How can I still eat my cake and lose weight?
Well, the truth is, so how we do this is we use something called carb cycling. So we call them carb feasts. I call them carb feasts.
Okay.
But basically, so it takes a certain number of days to get into a fat burning mode. And so it's like 9 to 10. At 3 weeks, you're experiencing 80% of the benefit of fat burning. At 6 months, you're experiencing 90%. And at a year plus, you're experiencing 100%. And so all that means is that your body has physically built new mitochondria that are designed to burn fat. If we're coming from a sugar burning mode, and saying maybe more than I need to, but we're all kind of on a spectrum of burning sugar or burning fat. And so what that means is people that are really deeply entrenched in a sugar burning mode have intense cravings, have hunger that's frequent, they have energy crashes, they get irritable, they get hangry when they get hungry, but often really deep sugar burning mode also comes with more health complications. So having things like diabetes or metabolic syndrome being on your way, that's hardcore sugar burning stuff. So deep fat burning tends to accompany less hunger, more energy, no cravings, and then often better health, slowed aging, improved digestion, you know, someone who feels well most of the time. But at any rate, so more information than you needed right there. But what we do is, because, so this is not a ketogenic diet, which is very low carbohydrate. This is lower carbohydrate, but what with periodic spikes of more. So why we do this, so we carb cycle. And what that means is we have less carbohydrates most of the time, and then we have these periodic spikes with frequency every week plus of more carbohydrates and more food. And the reason why we do that is because when you want to lose weight, what most people do and what is effective is to reduce calories and to reduce carbohydrates. And so when you do that, everything is dandy. The body will start to lose weight, and the more weight you have to lose, the more weight you'll lose faster. But what goes down, a hormone, because our body is always wanting us to stay alive and reproduce if given the right conditions. Basically, it's happier with you having more weight on your frame than less. So what it will do is, when it starts to let go of weight and we're reducing calories and carbohydrates, there's a hormone called leptin that also lowers.
Right.
And so that hormone is very consequential for feeling satisfied with a smaller / moderate amount of food, and it's also really consequential for weight loss. So
Okay.
when we reduce the calories and the carbohydrates, leptin is also lowering along with that over days.
Okay.
So if we keep the calories and carbohydrates low, leptin will get to a point where the body starts to feel unsafe. Like, oh, wait a minute, like we can't just keep letting go of weight here.
Yes, yes.
So the tactic to take is to give ourselves a surplus. So when we give ourselves this periodic surplus of calories and carbohydrates, a feast, leptin levels come back up, and then so we take like this little half step back,
Yes.
leptin levels get reinstated, and then we can just go right back to business with the less calories and less carbohydrates and never plateau. Yeah, it's so awesome and freeing.
Fascinating. And this is learning to work with your hormones and understand how they actually function, right?
Yes.
How does your approach to fitness and weight loss help clients slow down the aging process and feel more energized?
So I guess I'll say, so kind of like starting at the end of that question, fat burning in and of itself gives you more access to more energy. So what's amazing about it is basically, so molecule to molecule, there's like 16 times more energy in one of fat than one of sugar. And then basically what we're doing by situating the body to be able to have access to that fat for fuel is you kind of have you have limitless energy at your disposal. So the nature of burning fat will give you more energy, period.
Right.
And then I would say regarding exercise and slowing aging, in my opinion, and what I see repeatedly when I do additional research, is the best exercise, in my opinion, if you just like, we're starting to burn fat and or we just want to lose weight, wherever you're starting fitness wise, walking is fantastic.
Yes.
If strength training is necessary as far as I'm concerned, and that's something that'll keep a body free from pain. That's probably the biggest argument for strength, is that it will combat pain. The faster you want to feel old, the quicker you should become weak. That's kind of how that works. So
yeah.
So strength training is really important, and but that's something like that doesn't need to be complicated. That doesn't need to be lengthy. Doing something that's challenging for the body, but like 2 to 3 times a week, that would be amazing. Even twice a week would be incredible. And then like the holy trifecta here with exercise is also having an element of high intensity intervals. And again, that's based on one's fitness. And that's like a 20 to 30 minute session, 2 to 3 times a week, once again. But that's such a complete way to address a body for weight loss, comfort, ability, and longevity. And then the final question was about slowing aging, or the final element.
Yes.
What's so cool is that the nature of fat burning enables us to eat less often, because we're running off of fat more of the time. So when we eat, every time we eat, we're actually giving ourselves the instruction to divide. And so every cell only has a certain number of divisions that it can undergo, and then it's done. So if you're familiar with telomeres, so a lot of people know that term from being interested in slowing aging or anti-aging. And basically they're like these protective caps that are at the ends of our strands of DNA.
Okay.
The length of the telomere kind of indicates the remaining length of your life. So when we eat often, we're speeding up this process of cell turnover, cell division, and we're kind of running our telomeres down faster than we actually need to.
Right.
So when we eat less often, we're not pushing the clock. And what's also awesome about it is that our body has the opportunity to do other things with that energy, that time.
Mhm.
So it gets resourceful, it cleans
Right.
itself up. It cleans up kind of defunct parts of the cells called autophagy. It'll break mutant cells down. That's called apoptosis, like cancer cells. But it's a very reparative opportunity that you give your body to be in just by doing such a thing as intermittent fasting comfortably.
I love it.
Yay.
You've worked extensively on pain management and prevention of body breakdown. What are the key techniques that you teach for preventing injury, especially in older women?
So the two things to prevent injury or to be stronger are really form and strength.
Okay.
So you can get away with one if you're better at the other. So if you're
Right.
very conscious about good form, and so that's, not rounding your back, keeping a curve in your lower back, keeping your chest up, always thinking about having joints be over joints,
Right.
using your skeleton, that enables you to use your skeleton versus your muscles for everything.
Hmm.
And then ideally, we're aiming to keep our bodies strong. And so that means that we are both keeping the little muscles strong, our
Right.
lower back, muscles around our joints, but we're also strengthening the larger muscles to enable us to have more endurance for whatever we're doing. And I'll say lastly, Gertrude, relying on larger muscles. So both protecting smaller muscles with strength, protecting
Yes.
them with our posture, and then deliberately recruiting the bigger guys.
I
Um,
see.
so that's, yeah, I would say that's kind of a,
So, what's one piece of advice that you wish more people knew or took to heart about health and wellness, especially as you grow older?
I guess I would say that lifestyle is where it's at. So if there's anything, it breaks my heart that a lot of people kind of like lay down and die about their age, or because something is going on, whatever is currently going on that might not be a reflection of robust health, or they're struggling with an illness. I guess I would love for people to know how much control they have, how much choice they have, and that it's not luck that someone is, free from illness, energized, strong, fit. It's not luck. And it's not being
On it.
unlucky that they're dealing with any number of degenerative diseases. So I
Mm.
think that people, even though there's increasing awareness about the importance of lifestyle, I think that
Yes.
I don't think people fully recognize how much say they have. And then maybe the final thing I'll just say about that, there's this, I call it the holy trinity of health, and it's diet, exercise, and high quality supplementation, so vitamins and minerals.
Yes.
And that's kind of it.
Crucial.
So it's like, it's not complicated. It's
Yeah.
constant. It's every day, but it's not complicated. So
Love
that is
it.
something I would love for people to know.
I absolutely love it. Now, my last two questions are a bit of a thought experiment.
Okay.
So I'm going to teleport you into the past, and we're going to go and have a conversation with the younger you, the young woman who was struggling with weight, decided to do something about it, help others along the way. What three nuggets of wisdom would you have wanted somebody to have told you when you started on this journey?
Well, the thing I just want to say, so I was never heavy, but that's because I was micromanaging my intake and output. But what I would love for someone to know, or what I would tell my younger self, I guess, is that joy is so important. Like, that is not to be underestimated in terms of health or a healthy life. Being happy is so consequential. Having pleasure, prioritizing connections, all of that is so necessary, nourishing, needed, number one. And then I think maybe what I would go back and tell my younger self is, I guess I would just say, like, listening to oneself. Once again, this is in every respect. So whether that's emotionally, having a desire for something or not wanting something to be in my life or to be doing any given thing, but then also to listen to my body. And so that's regarding fullness, what food is actually most desirable. And then I think maybe lastly, I hope I'm answering this question correctly or answering the question that you asked, which is, I think that I worried a lot about what other people thought of me, what I looked like, how I appeared, if I was liked. And I think that I wasted a lot of time and energy being hypercritical, hyper vigilant. And I think I recognize now that I'm amazing. There is nothing to doubt, and being more concerned about my own experience versus how other people experience me, I think is actually like the way to be. So that would have been great earlier as well.
Absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story with us today. This is really inspiring.
Oh, you're so great, Gertrude. Thank you.
And it's inspiring to know that, you know, as a woman over 50, there is hope. I've actually started weight training in terms of trying to manage my weight.
Great.
And I'm starting to see some results, which is fantastic.
That is
and the simple you talked about, because sometimes we want things to happen like this, you know, you want to see that instant result. That's not always the best way to go. Slow and steady gets you there, correct?
You know, I'm going to say yes and no. As someone who loves loopholes, and I definitely I want what I wanted yesterday, like absolutely. I think that I think both things are true. So I think that also, like, there are points where you can adjust the dial based on where you are now, and also with listening to your body. So absolutely, slow and steady, consistent. We need that. And so that is essential. But then within that, there are times where it's like, I'm going to do something that's a little extreme, but there has to be, what do I want to say? Awareness around that, education around that. So I will say, proceed from where you are always, and then learn more. Yeah. And so keep doing it. That's so fantastic that you're doing strength training. That is wonderful for every reason. And keep learning about more of what you want.
I love it. Well, thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We are a social impact movement where we find inspiring women to uplift you, energize you, educate you, but more importantly, to take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So thank you so much, Michaela. This has been a fascinating interview.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.
I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody. So do tune in when I bring another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making